The God's honest truth, we cannot ignore this any longer, pressing down. What I'm going to say is of personal opinion. People may or may not agree. I just feel that this is my personal window of truth. I am not out to hurt anyone of particular culture or belief, but these are observations and experiences of what I've been going through. And what my gut instinct is, I believe in my intuition, and it's Christ-led. And God told me, regardless of your background, we all have a part in the jigsaw to play, which is our viewpoint and our window of truth. And it's via general consensus, it is there that we build a fair society. V2K have the intention to kill me by driving me up the wall mentally and with physical torture, or they may send their perpetrators in to finish the job physically. So I literally have nothing to lose exposing anything, and some of the truths I may come out with may be harsh, but it's for the bigger picture, and I haven't got it in for anyone. In Christ I love everyone. Being as I voted Brexit in 2016, which hasn't been delivered yet, and I don't think the intention was ever to deliver it, I thought I would like to put across my kind of Brexit, which I think myself and most Brits would want, especially of the indigenous peoples, as in English, such as my family line and myself, who remember a time when we had common sense applied to everything, and a chair was a chair and a table was a table, when you didn't have a zebra crossing or a banks with trans colour of the rainbow on it, a call centre in another country, a job interview 200 miles away, a wait on a telephone line which didn't include the complete works of Mozart, a 3-month wait for a housing repair, and then to come to take a photograph of it to see if it was viable, a time when you wasn't considered a paedophile for taking a picture of your child in a school event, a time when I had to take my child in sick because of attendance figures set by the schools, or government I should say, a time when men could look after their family on one salary and could carry on shopping up one flight of stairs, when TV would be pushing fake news whilst condemning the honesty in it, a time when my mum could walk into one job in the morning and start a new job on the afternoon, a time when you didn't have to stare at a computer all day long at a limited amount of jobs you would never get a reply from, a time when you were charged £50 for a vet for a 10-minute consultation when the average minimum wage is £9.50 an hour of slavery, and £4 for a small tub of butter, water being as expensive as electric, and gas going up almost 3 times the amount within a couple of years. And this is just scratching the surface of the ever-increasing madness of these times. And this has all happened in ultra speed time in my lifetime, but obviously it's been planned a long time before that. Over the years, as I've become to study and analyse media and all the experiences going on around me, I have come to the conclusion that I have said that this is orchestrated takedown of the UK Stasi style, with interference in our elections, the woke agenda, the fake news media, the dismantling of everything that has been secure in the past, like our NHS, the crazy policies of COVID, and the overreaction to probably something that had little effect on us globally, but had a massive effect on those who were already vulnerable and sick already. And the fact you cannot speak your truth without being a hate speech, the clampdown on your personal freedoms, the fact that we can see massive increases in immigration and nobody asked us if we wanted this, which I think is a demographic replacement of the indigenous peoples, and to cause the destruction of our culture, which is based in Christian principles. Having recently walked through Birmingham, I've noticed aggressive immigration where white people look like dots amongst the crowds. Not many people speak English. The main shops don't have a white face anymore. The buses were loaded with immigrants, and me and my daughter were the only whites on the bus, and that was actually coming to a white area, predominantly white. By the way, I don't have anything, no hatred towards black people or anything, but it's just the massive immigration that's happening now. Which there's a lot of illegals around, and like I can't even get out the country if I don't have a secure job. So it just seems madness to me to bring everyone and the kitchen sink into this country without vetting, which is obviously the New World Order or globalists that are behind this, that I think want to displace cultures and just make us all mixed up and cultureless for their own ends, and also to like irritate and like social demographics and stuff like that. They don't really give a toss about anyone, like displacing them with wars in one country and then putting them into others. And this is I think like cultures are important, and they shouldn't have any outside interference unless it's absolutely critical and honest. Muslims being used. I believe, as I've said in my previous videos, that we are now having a national itch scratched with a socially engineered people replacement. This is obviously the flavour of the month, and so the far left is pushing, and other organisations. I feel for the globalist agenda to keep moving ahead by diluting and breaking down not only the British culture but the rest of the world's cultures too. And they care even less about the indigenous white peoples of this island that have been used as a walkover rug since the Thatcher years, especially, where there was mass unemployment. Ever since then, the UK has been in permanent austerity that it never got out of. In particular, the older middle-aged and onwards generation, who in my opinion are very accommodating, polite and over-apologetic, pushed to the back, positively discriminated against, and that's because of Christianity, that we have learned to be a serving nation. This is the average person I am talking about, and this also includes the Windrush immigrants that came over in the 1950s, that knew the UK when it was just that, and it knew a more sensible time. My mum and grandmother were part of resettling these people into the UK by having lodgers in their homes, and was persecuted and harassed themselves for having such guests in their homes. My grandmother would look after lodgers by cooking and cleaning and washing for them. Mannequins in power. Now you look at today and what a joke this country has become. As I have said before, it's run by a bunch of aliens from another realm. By that I mean an ever-growing cancer of underhanded, organised cabal whom I think, and I've said before, are anti-Semitic Jewish elites that have hacked their way in through the back door. And now we have a bunch of mannequins running our country who clearly look like an ever-increasing clown academy, who are just following orders. Doesn't matter who you vote for, it's just an endless carousel of woke because they speak the same language and their souls have been bought, whether voluntary or by force, that have been eaten up by the universal cabal of globalism and Zionists. And from what I understand, America has got a lot to do with this, and their secret satanic societies and the technocrats. And not only did I get a warning about New York on my earlier channel videos, but a lot of the prophets, they are stating that the country is heading for a major correction. And I think this is going to be strong too. And from what I understand, it is where V2K is running from. The most horrific technology ever invented to incarcerate and torture human beings by their own brain sensory network. You'll have to forgive me because my head's blocking if it's going all over the place. And to the satanic cabal, I've been branded a terrorist by the security services, whether that be a Christian or an informant on the cabal. I have a 100% clean criminal record because things have gone too far with the hidden agendas, and nobody is safe in the UK anymore. They are out for all of us, whether rich or poor, black or white, straight, trans or gay, or Muslim, because they will use anybody to further their agenda. As I say, going back to Muslims, the promotion of Muslims lately seems to be the hot topic of many a YouTube video. Muslims are being used to scratch the itch of rage to be set against whites, I think in particular, and not only that, it's a kind of parallel opposition to Christianity, even though it tries to embrace Jesus and stuff like that, and like the Old Testament. But God gave me a drop about like some of the prophets. He usually like gives things that are drops in between things that I'm researching, because I've been researching the Quran and to see how different it is. And like he says something like, I never said all that, you know, like some of the people, and like the bit about the angel that wrestled, I think, with Muhammad, actually like pinned him down. That sounds like more like a demonic entity to me. Not a fallen angel more than it would be Gabriel. Don't think Angel Gabriel would do that. That's just my opinion, but I'm still researching the Quran anyway. Yeah, so they kind of adopted the Muslim religion, and God gave me a drop saying that they've been weaponised. Now, whether this is in law to kind of destroy Christian culture because it's in kind of opposition, you know, that's like becoming kind of relevant now. And I noticed that many of the probably later immigrants over here don't kind of mix with the Christian culture or whites. They're usually very distant, and as I say, you know, some of their attitudes do need a bit of a ticking off, to be honest. And I'm not, you know, for anyone getting a pounding down, but I'm just saying that, you know, Christ has put me in this position to enlighten, and you know, some of the attitudes are beyond a joke. Anyway, however, because Muslims might like the newfound false attention, they might be inclined to take it seriously, to further their religion and maybe take over Britain. This is where the danger comes in, that they may get ahead of themselves and start being coerced into the globalist narrative to be set against each other. And God gave me a drop about this nation and its British ways, you know, its Christian roots, you know, in English, you know, the indigenous peoples, you know, bloodlines are important. We fought for the freedom, you know, like right or wrong as it goes down the line, you know, our culture in Britain, England, you know, stands for something quite strong, and like Christianity does cover people, and you know, I think it's the only system that can work with multicultures under its umbrella, and you know, even homosexuality, because of the mercy seat that's on its heart of this nation, because of Christ. So, you know, getting people in the V2K world up. Yeah, anyway. Now I'm not going to be light for what I'm about to say, but I speak the truth about my own experiences to do with Muslim men. And it's not just those as well, it's some of these immigrants as well, but mainly in particular Muslim men. I'm not out to demonise a race or culture, but I have to speak the truth because people like myself have been gagged for too long now. And I feel that everyone out there has enough common sense that just because I speak the truth about certain factors of society, that opinion isn't taken to the extreme and it is viewed as a hate speech. If certain factors of a race is harmful to another, I feel it's our duty to say, because it needs to be put right. And like the recent incident that happened with that priest, Mary Mar or something, Emmanuel, who got stabbed. It is against the law to stab someone else just because of a religious ideal. And God told me the only time, you know, in our Christian culture is when our Christianity, our Christ believe in a system, when that's actually attacked, that's the only time that you take up the sword, as it's happened many times in the past. But you certainly don't go changing people, like sticking a knife to them. And that's on the extremist level. I don't know, I don't want to put like the average Muslim in a bad light, because there's lots of people like myself who just want to get on, and I can imagine that there are lots of people in the Muslim community who just want to get on with their day-to-day lives, and talking about extremists that might be even manipulated and paid by the globalists, I don't know. Or they may be mentally ill and being took advantage of. I don't know, but I know there is an extreme side to this religion. Okay, and it's my duty to say, because it needs to be put right. And by the way, the Scottish hate speech laws are another way of silencing us all by the globalists in order to bring about less freedoms and more madness. And I must go into some examples, because this is the way I've been treated. I don't know if they have problems with white women in particular, but the disrespect is unreal sometimes. Taxi drivers. I have had an experience a couple of weeks ago with a Muslim taxi driver, and this was not the first time I had experienced this kind of rudeness. I called them to ask for a specific spot in a vet car park to come and pick me up and my daughter to take us home, and the Muslim driver turned up yards away, demanding me with a horn bibbing to walk with a heavy cat up and around the car park to the other side of a very awkward road. And I stayed put and rang the driver to remind him to pick me up from the specified place. After all, I was paying. After a load of inaudible grumbling, he arrived a few minutes later. I got in and he started getting agitated at inputting the information into his satellite navigator. He was getting agitated at me because he could not understand me, because he could not speak English properly. And that time I told him a lot of expletives and swiftly got out the car and left him to it. He tried to phone me 5 minutes later and I ignored it as I struggled onto a bus. Now that's a kind of example that, to be in Britain, you should really learn the language when you come here. That kind of separate thing that we're superior unto ourselves, and I did absolutely nothing to deserve that kind of treatment. I had another Muslim taxi driver a year back, as I don't take taxis very often. He was prodding me with questions to start arguing with me or trying to make me look an idiot. Every time I'd speak, he'd shut me down. And this is, your average person who's just wanting to get from A to B as easy as possible. But there's always a problem. And I had one Muslim taxi driver in my younger days, was being prodding me with sexual questions and ended up saying some of the girls pay for their taxi fares with sex, implying that I should. My experience with other Muslims delivery drivers, I've been left carrying wardrobes up one flight of stairs by myself, almost run over by another one cutting me up crossing the road. I was watching one throwing my microwave around in the back of the van. I'm amazed that it worked. When I got a fairly civil Muslim driver, which I would say was 1 in 4 ratio, they are usually super quiet to the point of a thick atmosphere. They just do not want to mix or talk. But there are the odd occasion where there are nice people that are in the Muslim religion. I do not believe that as a woman I feel very looked on by Muslim men, to the point where if I took a taxi I feel like asking specifically for a white driver, which they are next to non-existent. And where the hell are the white drivers these days? And I have never had a black taxi driver in all my life of taxi journeys. And why do they have most of the monopoly on taxi driving? And now that there's a lot of them moving over to buses, so they are being weaponised to kind of be a demographic replacement for white people, and you can see it blatant as day. As I say, it's been weaponised, so done to deliberately irritate, I think. As I'm saying, this is said with love to the Muslim community, like watch how you're being used, and like watch for the overall picture that this is a good country. And I think people are getting fed up of being walked on now, not only by the elites, but other people too, that don't treat them with respect. And that includes some of the Muslim community. And this is not it. When I go to Birmingham, there seems to be 70% Muslim and 50% white ratio. I mean, that could be mixed with other peoples. That seems to increase exponentially each time I visit Birmingham, and they are incredibly rude, cutting people up on buses, not our usual English polite system of waiting in a queue, and they all have faces like thunder.